The test is not about punishment. It is about information. If you ask nothing of her, she will show you nothing. If you let every red flag pass, she will plant more. And yet, the moment you require clarity, the moment you withdraw comfort without explanation, the moment you say no with a straight face and quiet voice, she will have no script. Her performance ends, and her essence begins. Will she adapt or accuse? Will she lean in or fall silent? Will she offer value, or remind you of what you owe her? Her reaction is your report card, and Machiavelli's principle still applies. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. It is not your role that commands respect. It is how you uphold it when pressure arrives. Now consider how rare this kind of strength is. Most men fold at the first sign of emotional discomfort. They mistake tears for truth. They confuse chaos with passion, and they justify abuse in the name of love. But Machiavelli would remind them, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. She promised to love you when you looked like a man. But when she saw you yield to her moods, accommodate her manipulations, and center your life around keeping her calm, she broke her word. And she was right to, because you broke the illusion of strength. And still, most men continue. They double down on validation, thinking the woman is just going through something. They become emotional caregivers, therapists, servants, and then call it masculinity. But a Machiavellian man does not comfort dysfunction. He filters it, quietly, coldly, without needing to fix or redeem what has already shown its form. She does not need more love. She needs a mirror. And you, if you are worthy, must become that mirror. Still, unshaken, demanding nothing but truth, and walking away from anything less. Do not mistake her silence for surrender. A woman rarely explodes when you begin to test her. She observes, she recalibrates. She may even become sweeter, temporarily. But behind her softness is calculation. She's trying to assess whether your sudden strength is a phase, a trick, or your true form. Because the moment you set a boundary, you've declared war on the version of her that was winning, and now she has a choice, evolve or escalate. If she escalates, with guilt, coldness, drama, or withdrawal, you must not move. Because here is where most men lose everything. They test once, get backlash, and retreat. They believe the discomfort is a sign to compromise. But Machiavelli warned, injuries must be inflicted all at once, so that their ill savor may be less. Meaning, if you are going to assert control, do it fully, immediately, without hesitation. Do not test her 1 week, then collapse the next. Inconsistency invites chaos, and chaos is her natural habitat. Understand this. A woman's resistance to your boundaries is not the problem. Her reaction to your consistency is the truth. Any woman can appear composed for a few days. But how does she act after the third time you tell her no? How does she behave when you ignore her theatrics? When you change the dynamic from entertain me to prove you belong? Most will flinch. Some will flee. A few, the rare ones, will adapt. And those are the ones you watch, slowly, carefully, never fully trusting, but beginning to observe patterns. And this is the Machiavellian frame. A wise man ought always to follow the paths beaten by great men and imitate those who have been supreme. You do not reinvent testing, you refine it. You do not broadcast your standards, you enforce them, quietly. And you do not make exceptions because of how she looks, what she promises, or how lonely you feel. Because the test is not just for her, it's for you. Can you live without affection long enough to see the truth? Can you go without intimacy, approval, or routine comfort? Long enough to see her without the mask? Most men can't. They say they want clarity, but fold at the first cold night. They say they want a queen, but kneel to anyone who offers attention. But Machiavelli would remind them, men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. If your relationship is driven by your fear of losing her, you are not in love. You are in submission. You cannot lead a woman you fear upsetting. You cannot protect a woman you depend on for purpose. And you cannot test a woman whose reaction means more to you than your own sanity. So you begin small. You cancel a plan. You say no. You remain quiet when she's fishing for a reaction. You let her sit with her own emotions, without offering your energy as a solution. And then you watch, not with hope but with detachment. Not to punish, but to understand. This is the way of the prince, not because it's cruel, but because it's the only way to rule without being ruled. The woman you cannot test is the woman who will dismantle you. Slowly, gently, with smiles, sex, and 1,000 little permissions you gave without realizing you were surrendering. One skipped confrontation, one ignored boundary, one apology you didn't owe. She didn't need to raise her voice. You gave her your spine in exchange for her attention, and called it intimacy. But a woman who passes your test, she will not flatter you. She will not worship you. She will walk beside you. And when you push, she will hold her shape. Not because she fears you, but because she respects the man who does not flinch. That's the rare woman. And she cannot be found unless you learn to filter with discipline and endure with silence. Because everything that feels good in the beginning can be a trap. The compliments, the affection, the way she seems to get you. Machiavelli wrote, "The vulgar crowd always is taken by appearances, and the world consists chiefly of the vulgar." And that is the tragedy of the modern man. He looks, he assumes, he invests, and by the time he realizes he's been selected for his weakness rather than his strength, it's already too late. You are paying the price not for choosing the wrong woman, but for refusing to test her. So now the choice is yours. You can leave this video and return to your life, pretending that love is pure, that effort is enough, that boundaries are harsh and women are innocent. Or you can begin. You can test her silence, test her anger, test her consistency, test her gratitude, test her reaction to the word no. Because any woman who cannot withstand scrutiny does not deserve your investment, and any man who refuses to test is already lost. If you found truth in these words, if this hit something deep that you didn't want to admit, then share it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and support the movement using the link in the description. Every time you share this message, another man wakes up before it's too late. And that might be the most Machiavellian move of all, awakening the kingdom before the invaders come. This was Machiavelli's trick to test a woman before she strips your power. Now test everything, and trust no mask.